Recent events have led me to the conclusion that powerful forces are working against us. Last week, we released our first post-code episode, which was more or less censored. Immediately following its release, this quickly proved to be the most successful episode of ours yet. This success was, however, short-lived. YouTube decided that, because we made a few playful references to a certain kind of act, an act which is merely inwardly harmful, so to speak, that this video should become age-restricted. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that if there is anything which should be classed as made for kids on YouTube, it's this podcast. We are trying to produce content which is as educational as it is entertaining. And this is the price we pay for our brave public service. Things only continued to get stranger. When my co-host Felix tried to play the video, his web browser crashed. This is disgusting. To deprive a man of the sound of his own voice. Subsequently, I have had my own web browser crash multiple times over the past week. Clearly, I am being spied on and punished by big tech for having dropped my phone a few times. This is equally disgusting. To deprive a man of his right to while away his evening browsing photos of giant squids on DuckDuckGo. But the conspiracy only grows. Is it really a mere coincidence that these terrifying events occurred in the same week that Wes Streeting decided to abandon our glorious leader, Sir Keir Starmer, the same week that this literal knight of the realm was abandoned en masse by his treacherous lackeys? No, dear listener. We must observe the patterns and never doubt our immediate intuition, regardless of what our girlfriends or therapists tell us. Ignore them, for, like our glorious leader, who we here at God Worshipping Society will never abandon, we have no need for such people. Sir Keir, who I now address directly, fear not the betrayal, for, whatever happens to you, know that we will always be here for you, as fellow Gooners awaiting the final global revolution which will usher in a classless society, within which everyone will goon in unison. We patiently await this age of unity, of goonity. Thank you very much.
I was listening to the Prime Minister's speech while doing some work in the lab the other day, and that bit where he said, "I am a gooner," completely caught me off guard. I had to put down what I was doing, and I re-listened.
Honestly,
to it.
the best.
I was so inspired.
The best Prime Minister ever.
Quite possibly, yeah. At this point,
Winston Churchill would never say that.
No, because he just wasn't real enough.
No, well, he didn't have, like, Reddit or...
no, he wasn't gooning hard enough. But now look, his Kia's Garden of Gethsemane comes to him.
Yeah, we have a literal gooner in number 10, and
now he's being betrayed.
Yeah, classic. They're just trying to keep the Sigma male down.
Yeah. Let
we
the
need,
man
like,
goon in Parliament.
He should, like, divorce his wife and then come out as an incel or something, you know?
Yeah, I think that would improve his public image as it is now.
I would enjoy that anyway. Yeah. Well, you know, Felix, I think I've had COVID for the past few days.
Oh, really?
At last. Yeah. I had this really weird... I'm pretty sure it must be COVID because I thought I'd had COVID in the past because I've had like some weird colds, that don't seem right. But this time it was like bizarre. I was at work and I was like, it was like I couldn't. It was like I was drowning. I couldn't. I was breathing, but I could feel the oxygen wasn't going in. I was like constantly out of breath.
Yeah. Have you been coughing a
but
lot?
that seems. Yeah, I've been coughing quite a bit as well.
The worst bit
I've been quite
of COVID
phlegmatic.
for me was the coughing. Yeah, the coughing. And the worst thing is the cough would be fine during the day, and then right when I was going to sleep, it would be the most awful tickly cough that I just couldn't stop. And it would feel like you're choking, and just you have to cough. Oh man, it drove me up the wall.
But you know what? Did I stop vaping? No.
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 I remember that's how I'd always know when I was really not feeling well. It's because I wouldn't be smoking weed. I'd be like, oh, I just don't want it today. And I'd be like, wow, I really am sick.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of factory workers in Shenzhen whose livelihoods depend on me. So, I'm not gonna deprive them of that.
Maybe they've been coughing
into
the vapes.
Probably. I mean, that's probably how it spread 6 years ago when it was.
There was that alleged prescient Simpsons episode, which had it was like a factory in Japan, sorry, and like all the factory workers were like coughing onto, I don't know, there was some fad around Springfield, and the Japanese workers were all coughing on them, and everyone got sick with the flu because of it. And then there was like big rioting and stuff. It was like the prescient episode of The Simpsons. So I think that's
interesting. People always talk about The Simpsons being prescient. So, but I mean,
probably because
it's kind
they've done about 1 billion episodes.
I was just gonna say it's a monkeys and typewriters kind of situation.
I think
really,
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a bit freaky because there's that. That's how the episode starts. Is everyone getting sick? And then it ends up with everyone rioting and pulling down like statues of people, which was very like 2020 period.
Yeah,
with all the like
people
BLM stuff in America.
People are so hysterical, It's very annoying. I'm so sick of hysteria. It's like, yeah, there are problems in the world, but we got to roll our sleeves up and deal with them. Can't just get hysterical on the internet. It's like the thing about like I don't know why this podcast is mostly just me talking about Reddit at this point, but like
it just seems to be our main source of information at this point.
Yeah, Reddit Marxists and people like that, I think their diagnosis of what's wrong with the world is so general and so massive that you can't really do anything about it at that point. Like there's no practical steps.
There's no silver bullet for every problem in the world.
It's like the only thing you can do is post about it on Reddit or just go on a protest. And like I've spoken about in previous episodes, I really don't see any point in protesting. It seems like a huge waste of time.
There's been more protesting in London. I think it was yesterday.
What were they protesting about? Oh, is this Tommy Robinson?
Yes, it was the what is the stupid name for the right wing one? Unite the Kingdom, I think it is.
Yeah. It's their version of the Unite the Right Charlottesville thing.
Yes,
I guess.
Yeah, I didn't think
that's where they got the idea from.
Yeah,
they're really stuck in the 2010s.
Absolutely, of course. So they were marching, and then there was a counter protest right next to them, but they didn't mix, obviously. So it's kind of all a complete sham. There wasn't even any
Tommy
fighting.
Robinson.
I mean, come on.
I mean, that is the real point of protesting. That I understand.
It's not quite a march, a march to Parliament if you don't end up fighting anyone. And even if when they do fight people, it's just like sort of shouting at the police until they pepper spray you. I mean, it's kind of lame.
Yeah, whenever I think of UK police nowadays, I just think of like a Tesco meal deal for some reason. That's like the vibe police have. Yeah, they all look like they're turning into a Tesco meal deal. They're all very like pasty when you see them. They look,
not quintessentially kind of British, which is kind of what the Tesco meal deal is.
They're like, it's like a flabby guy with pasty skin with like it's like a tall flabby guy, and like he's got like a shitty beard, and yeah, it just feels it's the same aura as a Tesco meal deal. I don't know. It's like this cowardly kind of like follow the rules, like
please stop rioting.
Yeah, we need more like American style police, where it's just like guys on steroids who are just like, get out the car, you know, and like pulling a gun on you, for, like
Instantly.
jaywalking or something.
For no reason. I tell you what, the
We
French
need more
riot
of that.
police. If there's one thing I like about the French, their riot police are so cool, man. They've all got like bug armor. It's all like interlaced. They look like centurions or something, Roman legionaries.
Yeah.
And they
that
the
is
number
their
of
pastime.
compilations of the French gendarmes beating the shit out of people rioting. I've seen.
Yeah,
an
I
awful
have
lot of
seen those.
They're very good.
Yeah, that is like their sport, I guess, is rioting and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's
Kicking
one
up a
exception.
fuss.
If you're French, you can riot. I feel like that's
Yeah,
because
there's always
it's
something
kind of
to
a
complain about.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a game for them either. It's like not really about achieving anything. It's more like just doing the thing you've been doing for 300 years now.
And then you actually achieve something, and then it turns out to not be very good.
Yeah.
And then you
well,
go
what have they
riot again.
achieved? I don't know what they've achieved.
Well, didn't what was it called? The Gilets jaunes, that stuff. I mean, they like set fire to some motorways.
I guess that's an achievement. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's more destroying someone else's achievement, really, when you think
Well, it's
about it.
destroying your own country's infrastructure for no reason.
Yeah, because why do they? I don't know. I don't understand what they want from anything, really. I don't know what they want from the rest of the world. It seems like they just try and close themselves off. You know, they have their own, like their science is different from everyone else's. They're very stubborn. You know,
Yeah.
like no one does psychoanalysis anymore. But the French still do, and it's still like a big deal. And it's like, I don't know if this is helping anyone.
I feel like the sort of trendy therapist comes from France, you know, that kind of whole thing.
Well, there's two types, right? There's two types of like psychoanalysts, basically,
Right.
archetypally. That's a Jungian term. But
Yeah.
you have the Austrian one and you have the French one. Okay,
Right.
The Austrian one is a bit more old-fashioned. He's got the horn-rimmed glasses and the
Yeah.
suit.
Smoking a pipe,
he-
does a bit of heroin.
Yeah, and he's like, tell
Or
me about
cocaine.
your mother, you know, and
Yeah.
he's got that kind of vibe. Whereas the French one is trying to sleep with you,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, and he's like drunk, you know, and that's the difference between the two. The French one, the Austrian one will give you like pragmatic advice, but it sounds pragmatic, but it won't really help.
But it's
The
nonsense.
French one, you won't have a clue what they're telling you. They'll just be doing like mental gymnastics. They're just trying to bewilder you. You know,
Yeah.
that's the French psychoanalyst. They're
Until
trying to
you have
bewilder
no
you
choice
into
but to take your clothes off.
to resolve your trauma with them or whatever.
It's sex therapy.
Yeah, and then the rest of the world, we don't have psychoanalysis. We do like cognitive behavioral therapy or anything or stuff like that.
CBT,
Which
cock and ball torture.
yeah, that which feels again very Tesco Mill deal. You know, it's very like, here are some guidelines. This is a framework. You know,
Yeah.
we've received the guidelines from the Association of
Mental health
you
or
know
whatever.
of sandwich manufacturers. We're
Yeah.
following the guidelines. This is how, you know, you got BLT.
The international
yeah, that's-
standards for mental health. This is
Yeah.
their recommended route for everyone to feel better.
I think that the reason we've become like this is because we were so. It's all because of Jimmy Savile. Okay, I'm gonna say it.
Okay, yeah.
It's
our weekly deferring to Jimmy Savile, friend of the show.
We were so bad culturally with that stuff that we had to kind of go the complete opposite way because it was unsustainable. You know, because we hadn't been like that. The thing is, French people, they've always been like that, right?
Yeah.
They've never stopped being
It's
like
cult-
that. It's
their
always
culture.
they're Catholic, okay? So it goes hand in hand with that. We were from the 19th century onwards, we were very, you know, restricted culturally, very prudish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the 60s happened and we like went back on that, you know, with the boomers.
Yeah, went a
and
bit
then
crazy.
it got really out of hand, you know, and it was just kind of embarrassing. So then we were like, okay, we got to change. I mean, I was just right before we started recording this, the last thing I was doing was showing showing my girlfriend a clip of Gary Glitter performing on TV in the 70s. And it's so weird. understand where the entertainment is. It's not entertaining. It's strange. It's curious, but like I don't know why that was what you would watch on TV back then. You know, it's
if you
very
even had
weird.
a telly.
Yeah, but it's like, firstly, 70s TV in Britain. It's like everyone looks awful. No one looked good back then. It seems they just didn't have hot people.
It was like a very bizarre looking. Everyone just sort of. Why?
Everyone was out of shape.
Yeah, it was the
Everyone
true
was
era of the dad bod, wasn't it?
Yeah, everyone was slightly fat, like you know. And then, but the other thing is, they didn't know how to layer hair, so everyone had long hair, but it was all like one length, so it looks terrible. And then the clothes obviously just look really cheap and tacky. And I mean, you're talking about Gary Glitter, you know, it looks awful. He's fat.
I need to look up a picture of Gary Glitter because I'm struggling to imagine.
Do you know what the weirdest thing is though? Is the mannerisms. People
Jesus
actually had
Christ.
different. People had different mannerisms. People had different mannerisms in the 70s, right? So like with him, the thing he always did is he always had this facial expression of being like astonished almost.
Yes, yeah.
It's like this like weird like where am I kind of fit. Like what is that? I don't know what that means. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why is that entertaining? Because he looks like he's surprised all the time.
Yeah,
like,
his eyebrows really high up. He looks
He's
awful.
not even smiling. I know, it's really confusing. I just can't make heads or tails of it. Why was this on TV? Who wanted this? Did anyone ask for it? People clearly liked it.
I've got to say,
I sound like Tucker Carlson right now. I don't know why I've started.
He looks like a villain from Flash Gordon. For anyone, obviously, who's not interested in looking up Gary Glitter, he looks like a villain from Flash Gordon. He's got a silver kind of Napoleonic jacket that you kind of see a British officer wearing, but it's covered in feathers, like reflective silver with massive shoulder pads, an awful haircut, and just the most bizarre facial expression.
He was actually bald. He always wore
I can tell. Yeah. It's not good. He looks like a sex predator.
Well, quite. Yeah, I mean,
well, it's like
that. Everyone should have been thinking that.
You know,
I think they all realized, they all knew, and they all thought it was cool. I think that's the problem with boomers. Yeah, the boomers don't want to fess up to this. They all thought that was cool at the time. Okay, they thought that meant you were like a bad boy or whatever. Like that, they genuinely they won't acknowledge this. This is one of their worst crimes, but they all knew and they were all okay with it, and they all thought it was just cool, you know? It's like, what's that band, UFO?
I was going to say, I was just thinking, they have Too Young to Know, their first song on Phenomenon, where he's like, all your teachers are looking at you with envy when I pick you up from school.
It's like, no, they're not. They're looking at you because they're creeped out. Like they're weird. They think you're weird, and they're thinking about reporting you to the police. Like, but they would brag about this.
Do you think they were reporting them to the police? I bet the teachers were looking at him envy. He's picking up his like 15-year-old girlfriend.
I guess because they all were nonsense back then.
Yeah, because it's she's like, oh well, she's had her period. I mean, she's of age.
Yeah, I genuinely think they all thought it was cool. They all thought it was cool. They didn't want to acknowledge that there was anything wrong about it. And I mean, Led Zeppelin sang about it.
Yeah, of course.
You know, they got that song about like literally a 15-year-old groupie. It's like it was just everywhere. The Beatles, you know the song.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Well, she was just 12 years old, and you know what I mean. And I swear to God, I thought that she was 18.
A classic.
Well,
Does your mother know?
I wouldn't have slept with her if I knew she was 12 years old. There you go.
I'm not sure I remember that one exactly like that.
That is Paul McCartney wrote that.
There's certainly a lot of Beatles songs where she was just 16.
Yeah, it's
got a top off.
Yeah. But
I can smell the age restriction.
Yeah,
wafting towards us. Speaking
we
of
haven't
ABBA,
said anything.
does your mother know?
Oh yeah.
Eurovision was on last night.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but you did.
I did watch it. I do like the Eurovision. It's really lame and shit, and I watch it every year. And I feel, we talk about like European federalism, this great idea. Yeah. I feel a certain fraternity with our European brothers and sisters. And then I watch the Eurovision and I fucking hate all of them. My God.
Yeah.
The Eurovision is just so irritating. So the United Kingdom, in classic fashion, we finished with 1 point. We were last place, which is a shame. I thought our song this year was pretty good. Bit of electro sort of stuff. But the surprise winner was Bulgaria this year.
Really?
It was, yeah. Not the bookies' favourite. It was a complete surprise.
I don't know anything about Bulgaria. Second. Israel came second. Really?
Yes, they were massively in the lead. They got something like almost 300 points from the audience votes. So they were right at the top, and the only one who could beat them was Bulgaria. And I was quite pleased because at least Bulgaria is actually in Europe.
That's a good point, yeah. I would have thought Israel would be like the unpopular one. But I guess I wonder I wonder what countries were voting for Israel the most. I'm curious to hear that.
I know we gave them 10 points, so second highest number of points.
That doesn't surprise me. That's all the boomers, I guess, who are
the thing is,
only democracy in the Middle East, we got to vote for them.
When you look at the audience votes that came from the UK, it's like all you have to do is look at the demographics in this country. It's like Poland, Moldova, like Eastern Europe got quite a few points. A lot from Israel. You just look at where people come from who are in this country, and you can just find out exactly where we were going to vote. It was so obvious.
I wonder how big our Zionist community is in England. Maybe it's quite big. I don't know.
We have quite a big Jewish community. And again, a lot of boomers.
No, I have no idea.
The thing is, I know it's inevitable. I don't like the politicization of the Eurovision. I think I like the music, which is why I listen to it. I mean, I like listening to how shit some of these songs are. But the politics creeps in, right? It's inevitable. But people weren't when Israel got announced, they were doing pretty well already. But when the audience votes came in, they bumped up from about 10th place to first, and there was a lot of booing in the audience. There was a lot of screaming, like positive. It was sort of split, it seemed like.
It would have been a lot more fun if Palestine were in it as well, because like Israel's not in Europe, so you may as well just let everyone in, And I feel like then that would be, and they would probably be quite good at music, because like Arabic music is pretty good, It's got like
Israel's song this year.
It's got a good sound to it.
It wasn't actually a bad song. It was kind of sort of pretty poppy, sung in French, English, and Hebrew, and it was very sort of almost Algerian love song kind of thing. Had the touch.
Yeah,
so it wasn't actually. I think
Israeli music is pretty similar to like Lebanese music. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. They like trance. I know that Israel and Greece are like the top countries for trance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Greek trance is amazing. Greek trance is sick. It actually sounds Greek. Like it sounds like weirdly like ancient. It's very cool how
Greece's song this year was utterly awful.
It was
a guy he was singing about, I don't know, it was like video game themed. It was so bad. I'm just glad Greece didn't win, to be honest, because if they did, my God. I mean, Cyprus kind of always flipped between sort of the more Turkic kind of pop with lots of flute, like horns and things, to the more sort of Greek style. It was very Middle Eastern sounding this year. They were keeping it real though. It was just a woman shaking her ass basically for 3 minutes. So
that should have won, really.
Real. Yeah, a few years ago, Poland, their song was just like, I don't remember the song, but I remember it was just a bunch of women churning butter on stage, and they were all
cool.
They were all very busty, buxomly Polish peasant women churning butter.
Yeah.
So they were really
that is cool
real for Eurovision.
I feel like that's really why people are drawn to white nationalism. Is like it's basically a reaction against our culture becoming more oriented towards the ass. It's like it's a return to breasts. I think that's really
the place where we should all
the far
return
right
to.
is about. Yeah, I mean, I know I was slagging off psychoanalysis earlier, but you know, if I was gonna analyze the alt right,
you'd be from the Austrian
and the far right. Yeah, I'd be like, it's because your mother had breasts.
Enormous breasts, and you wish to return to them. Austria's song this year was awful. They're
not the most sensual people, are they? I mean, Germanic people historically have been amazing at music. Let's face it. Like, the best music ever made.
I don't think they handled the transition to modern music very well, based on the Eurovision. Oh, Kraftwerk. I like Kraftwerk.
I like Faust. That's
like
Krautrock.
Yeah. Neu.
Yeah.
Can.
Neu is sick. Can is good. Yeah. I know we were slagging off boomers. The German stuff from the early 70s was genuinely pretty good.
Well, that's
that
like
was
alt
actually
boomer.
Good.
You know, like Hawkwind, that kind of thing. I like alt boomer stuff. Motorhead.
Yeah. Well, the best rock musician ever is obviously Captain Beefheart. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never doubt that. He's the only boomer I really like. You know, he was on another level. You know.
I mean, was he a boot? I mean,
he was born. Yeah, he was born in like the 40s. So 46. I think he was born something around then.
So late boomers is like the end of the mid 60s.
I think the cutoff might be 64. Maybe.
Okay.
The cutoff is when the Beatles got big, I guess.
Yeah,
that's probably how they dated it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then Gen X. Gen X?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boomers. No, it goes silent generation, greatest generation, boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, which I think is just millennials.
Yeah, millennials are Gen Y, then Gen Z.
Yeah. The best.
Obviously.
The second greatest generation. Yeah. The second coming of the greatest generation.
Yeah. The real greatest generation.
I mean, we did rehash all the stuff that those guys had, you know. The
and
Nazism.
The communism.
Yeah, we got the whole thing.
Coming out. Yeah, we got the full package.
We're more dialectical, okay? We've got both sides of that thing. I mean,
I think we're more real with it because we also have.
Yeah.
my new TV has this mode where you can cast your phone screen to the telly while watching the TV, so you can have your Subway Surfers Comfort Corner playing on your phone while you watch, you know, the latest soap opera or whatever. And there's a mode where you can have like 3 phones casting with the TV on at the same time. So you can have your like Foot Fetish Comfort Corner, Family Guy, Subway Surfers, and whatever content you're actually watching at the same time.
Is that what that game's called? Subway Surfers?
Yeah. Did you never play that?
Thank you, I'm going to get that. No, I never played that.
I remember when it was a thing, and I did download it and played it briefly, but I mean, never a huge amount.
Yesterday I got a new game called Eartheon. You heard of that?
Eartheon?
Yeah, it's
I've not heard of it.
It came out last year, but it's a 16-bit game. So
Okay.
It looks really. So I think you can play it on like the Mega Drive if for some reason you own one, but you can just get it on Switch or Steam or whatever.
Okay.
But it's just a side-scrolling shooter game where you're a little spaceship, you know, and it's Japanese, so like all the enemies look like they evolved in the Cambrian explosion, you know, and it's just this kind of and I just completed it.
What's it called?
Within Eartheon.
Eartheon, right? Okay, let me have a look.
Yeah, and it's so Japanese. I was playing it and just thinking like, these people have such a distinctive culture, and I can really like explain it all, you know, like when a lot of the bosses are like big mecha type things, and it's like, okay, that's an American tank, obviously.
Yeah, there's like a big one that looks like a B-52 bomber or something.
Yeah, so their whole culture. There's 2 components to Japanese culture. One is World War II trauma, and the other is environmentalism. So, of course, the final boss of the game is like this alien creature that has large breasts, and once you defeat her, she reveals to you that actually these enemies you've been fighting, these aliens, are actually spirits who were trying to wipe humanity out to save the planet Earth. So there's this environmentalist kind of message.
I feel like there's always a kind of religious aspect as well, because it feels like every Final Fantasy game you fight God.
Yeah, well, that's basically because they were interdimensional spirits in this game. They reveal at the end. And then there's the cherry on top to make it extra Japanese is the reason why they withdraw from the Earth and stop fighting us is because you put up such a good fight and they respect that.
Yes, that is the same as Earth Defense Force.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great game.
Because in Earth Defense Force 6, it starts off where the world is actually being destroyed by the aliens. You then get sent back in time to basically redo the entire 5th game, at which point you end up fighting God, who's on the aliens' side, and then after you defeat him, they're like, okay, these people have done such a good job that they leave, basically. So it has the full trifecta. You're fighting giant frogs that they say look like people for some reason.
Yeah, it's the idea that God is just like another samurai, and like he's got the same codes of like honor as you, and like it's just like
God conveniently follows Bushido.
yeah, and it's ridiculous. I think Final Fantasy 13 ends with you becoming a goddess because you're
Final Fantasy 13. Is that lightning?
Yeah, lightning. I think she becomes a goddess at the end after killing God or something. I don't really know. I haven't played it really.
She rules on the chrysanthemum throne, although she's a woman, so she's not allowed. She has to become an agendered god because you can't have a woman on the throne.
The Japanese royal family should start dyeing their hair and like going really kind of anime with it. You know,
I'm surprised they haven't.
Yeah, why not? It's.
I mean, yeah. I don't even know what the Emperor of Japan looks like at the moment.
Yeah, I can tell you. Do you know what I like about anime is when there's a Chinese character.
Naruhito.
I like in anime when there's a Chinese character and they're the only one that looks Asian, and then all the Japanese characters
just look like
white people.
Yeah, the classic trait. He looks like he would be the president of Nintendo, basically. Unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
The Emperor.
He probably is. I feel like Japan and Nintendo are kind of the same thing at this point.
I've put a picture of him in politics and culture, as only seems appropriate.
Oh yeah, he does. I guess he is. In my head, Emperor of Japan equals President of Nintendo. It's the exact same thing. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go, guys.
The Princess Marco. I mean, I know there's a big to-do about it, because I think she might be the next in line, but the Japanese really don't like the idea of a female, of an empress.
They've never had one, have they?
No.
No.
And they're really not
keen on it. Well, it's like the Byzantine Empire. They had that problem when was it Irene became empress, and a bunch of people were like, I'm not going to recognize you as my ruler.
The Basilia. The Basilia.
I've got aphorisms this week. If you want to do that.
Yeah, let's have a little mid show aphorism.
Yeah.
Aethelfether's Aphorisms.
So, what have we got? Something about Descartes sucking his own dick as a metaphor or something.
That's a real winner.
First aphorism. How about instead of Joey Essex, it's Joey Wessex? And he's like, "You right, me lovey?"
I thought that was going to go a completely different route. I thought it was going to be, sort of medieval. Yeah, get a bit Anglo.
No, just just West Country.
No, yeah, very good.
This one's a bit more intellectual.
Okay.
The philosopher Alain Badiou wrote a book called The Rational Kernel of the Hegelian Dialectic. How about a rational kennel, and it's a place where a smart dog lives?
That's very good, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
appreciate
and
that
then
one. I thought it was going to go over my head, that one, but it didn't. You brought it back.
There you go. Well, you're a man of science. You can
Keeping
understand these kinds of things. The last one I've got is... this one's a bit more aphoristic, I guess.
Okay.
There is never a single correct way to do things. For example, in remote areas of China, the rural folk have been observed drinking water with chopsticks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something to think about.
You ever heard about that?
I've not, no. Do they drink a lot of water with chopsticks?
Well, it's just how they do it, you know. That's how they drink water. You know, they pick it up.
Reminds me of
they
how
pick the water up.
Lap up stuff with their tongue in like a small bowl. But
I love watching cats try to eat and drink because it's like it's such a struggle. Like they're clear. Like the way they're meant to eat is by pinning something down and just tearing chunks out of it. But instead, they're forced to eat.
Yeah.
The other day, my cat, she just put her entire meal. She just moved it out of the bowl and put it all on the floor, and then ate it.
She's very pretty, your cat.
She is, yeah. She's sleeping right next to me right now. She's enjoying the ridiculous heat in this room. I don't know, why am I wearing a jumper?
I was going to say, in your conservatory, and you're saying how bright it is, and I can see how light it is in that room.
I'm burning the COVID away, all right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
You're helping your own fever.
Yes. So yeah, there you go, guys.
It seems like a perfect place for some houseplants.
We got a lemon tree and some stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Very Mediterranean. Get some olives in there. That's what you need next.
Yeah, I would love olives, man. But yeah, those are our aphorisms, guys. Let us know what you think.
Thank you for the comments on the last episode.
Yeah, thank you very much for the comments. Someone said okay YouTube. Now I thought that was a sarcastic like okay YouTube, like, you know, like this is crap, why are you sending me this? But then apparently actually it's like a way of saying like okay YouTube, you know, it's like
okay,
like I mean that's what I don't know. Maybe I'm flattering myself.
Thank you,
I don't
YouTube.
know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean the other one was what is this, which is quite funny. Although that comment seems to have since been deleted by the owner of the comment. They clearly regretted that after listening to it. They thought, now this is actually amazing.
Yeah. And then someone else pointed out that they were listening to it at 4 a.m, which is very cool. I respect that.
That is very cool.
4 a.m.
cool.
crowd. Yes.
Yeah. That's the time to listen to us. I think if you're awake at 4 a.m, you need something as... Sorry, I keep... something as weird as this. Something as weird as this to listen to. We talk some rock.
You're probably in a bad place psychically if it's 4 a.m. and you're still awake. So what you probably need is something to purify your soul and
retune your chi.
Yeah, I think that's largely what we're achieving here. So yeah, hopefully we won't get banned. Well, we won't get restricted for violating community guidelines this time.
Yeah, well, we won't talk about any unpleasantness.
Anything. Yeah,
we just won't talk about anything.
We will. This is made for kids, obviously.
We've been talking too much about things recently. I've noticed. YouTube doesn't like
things,
that.
and what should we be talking about instead? Like
no thing. Ooh, nothing. Just nothing.
This is that. Well, you know, there's really not that much of a difference between things and nothings, really.
Wow.
Dialectically, you know.
That reminds me. I've got a science thing.
Oh yeah.
YouTube can't get us on this because this is right. So I saw
educational.
There's a company in the US who's made a microchip that can provide basically a current like you get from a battery, but it gets it from nothing. So it's all a bit sort of getting stuff out of the ether, which is very old nonsense physics now. But it's basically quantum energy. And then I thought, well, this is a load of crap. So I started reading into it. First off, the first thing that made me think, maybe this isn't crap, is that DARPA is funding it. And I doubt that the US military would be pumping millions, possibly billions, into this company if it was a no-go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically two very close conductive plates, and photons are appearing and disappearing all the time. And because the proximity of the plates is so small, you end up with more photons appearing outside than can appear inside, and that produces a pressure. And that pressure is harnessed in these chips as a voltage. And
it's like you're playing a game. It's like you're exploiting a glitch in a game or something.
Exactly. It's like, this is cool to me. This is really cool. It's called the Casimir effect, which is a cool name for starters. Casamir, so the Casimir effect. And basically, you could put these chips in things like watches that have... I mean, it only produces a small current. But a lot of small electronics could have these instead. You would never need to change a battery or anything. It just produces energy from the universe around us, which is really cool. I mean, this is space. This is like future tech now. Harnessing quantum energy and stuff is real future stuff. So yeah, this is cool.
This is cool. I feel culturally, I think it's a real shame that we're not embracing like futurism like we were 50 years ago or so. It's like,
like the 1950s when like microwave, everyone's like, oh my god, we're in the future. We have nuclear tech, microwaves, all this stuff. That was real. That was really cool, and we kind of just lost the love for it.
Yeah, well, it's like we've all gone back to like pre-World War II ideologies in a way, and it's like, come on, we could have something new. This is the running theme of the whole podcast from my perspective, is just me being annoyed at how old everything is. There's too many old people in this country.
There's too many old people in this country. Everyone's watching the same stuff over and over again. Everything's being remade,
the young people,
which really grinds
the young
my
people
gears.
act like they're old people because the culture's distorted by how many old people there are.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, I'm so old when they're 22.
And also like I see people like young people, like younger than us, out when I'm out, and they're dressed in those awful 70s clothes, and it's like, why are you doing this? Like, that's what your grandparents dressed like when they were young. Can't we have something new?
All the money and all the property and stuff is in the hands of boomers, and so you want to emulate them because it makes you feel powerful.
Unconsciously.
Because you're like, oh, well, if I say I'm old, boomers will respect me, and they've got all the money.
Yeah, it's also just LARPing, because it's like, the people just aren't imaginative. Everything got frozen in time, I guess by the internet, really. So it's like, there's no new, everyone's cultural references are old. People are like, why aren't there any new subcultures? And it's like, subcultures are like mid-20th century thing. Why do you want a subculture? We're past that point. We don't need subcultures anymore. Let's have something instead, People are so unimaginative. It's like they didn't have subcultures before the 50s. So why do you assume that's some kind of constant historically? Why? Maybe we just don't need subcultures anymore. Maybe we're past that. Why is your idea of what we should be doing in the future just a new version of an old thing?
I feel like it's a biological...
There's no point.
It almost feels like a biological roadblock, where, I mean, we're not evolving anymore. So that there must come a point where we reach a zenith biologically.
But not everything's biological, I
know that. What I more mean is like, the kind of tribal aspect. You think, okay, religion, people aren't really that religious anymore, so they replace it with something else. It's replacing something rather than a novel creation. I'm going to worship a flag or a nation rather than my church or whatever.
Well, the onus is on science, because religion, people think that everyone was really religious for all of history before the Enlightenment or whatever. That's not really true. When we're talking about religion, we're talking about something that only emerged in late antiquity, really. Like there were, like before that, it's almost wrong to use the word religion to describe.
It's basically just like
they had mythology. Yeah, they had mythology, they had folklore, but they didn't have like codified religions built around a book,
No, yeah,
that
not like an
ideological
ancient text that, yeah.
They weren't
exactly.
fighting wars over this stuff, because they just, if they met other people who had different names for the gods, they were like, oh, it's the same gods, But then religion became a kind of proto ideology, and
I
that's what
suppose it
people
was
think about
more,
when they think about religion.
it was more tied to kind of your day-to-day life back then. You have a god of the sun, a god of the moon, a god of the earth.
It's just
And
a
so
more
when you do meet
restricted
someone
version of
else-
animism.
Yeah, basically, because you're like, you meet someone else, they also have a god of the sun. Well, if you win, you just absorb their mythology into yours. Look at the Romans.
Yeah.
Whereas you can't do that with a codified text that tells you,
a
even now,
specific
Islam
ideology.
and Christianity are still, because even though they're from the same place, the texts are different, and even though, Muslims see Jesus as a prophet,
but what's replaced religion? If you look at the way people talk about religion now, even though people can be hyper-religious or whatever, the religion is almost always subordinate to the political ideology. That comes first. It used to be the other way around, So that's what's replaced religion, is ideology.
In fact, religion is almost piggybacking on the ideology, because
it is.
Or the religion is being used to further it, because that is the conservative aspect. We used to have religion, so I'm going to be super Christian now because I'm a conservative.
That's what you see. I mean, all these people who've suddenly become Christian. I mean,
These
there's probably
Yank
not actually that many
podcasters,
of them. Yeah. They became like right-wing conservatives first, and then they were like, okay, I got to be religious now.
Russell Brand.
It's like Russell Brand. I mean, this also gets more cynical with some of the more griftery guys, I guess. Where it's
he is just a grifter, but it's
he's
still
the only people
he felt like he should read from the Bible because that would appeal to people he likes or he wants to support him.
So religion has been ultimately consumed or contained by ideology. Now,
I think
the reason why I say the onus is on science. Yeah. The reason why I say the onus is on science is I have a way of understanding this, which is like if you look at where Christianity came from, big influence on that was Greek philosophy. And so what you have is, let's think Hegelian about this. Let's get dialectical. You had an established culture of mythology and poetry and all that kind of stuff. That's the abstract moment. That's the first moment. Then you have the dialectical moment where you have Plato and Aristotle, and they critique that stuff. And then fast forward in time, by the Middle Ages, you get a new mythology which combines with the Greek philosophy, and that becomes theology, which is the science of God, which in the Middle Ages was considered the queen of the sciences. The sciences were organized in a hierarchy, and at the top was theology. But then in the early modern period, we had another dialectical moment, like they did in ancient Greece. And we're still in that moment. We haven't got to the point where we have a new queen of the sciences. There have been attempts at that, but because we're still in a very dialectical, negative era, we don't have that yet. So, like, the closest thing to a theology we have now, depending on your ideology, if you're like a liberal, then it's economics. That's your theology. If you're like if you're conservative, like, you might say it's Christian theology, but it's not really. It's I don't know. But if you're more like left wing, it would be sociology. Those are the theologies of our time. But we need something that's actually that isn't just negative, isn't just based on a critique of something else. Because all these ideologies, especially since the internet's come about, they've all been straw-manned into existence by the other side. Like, for example, the right wing, the more extreme right wing that you especially see in America, is like they have become a bogeyman that people on the left were kind of imagining before. So like, people would, when the right wing in America was all neocons, the people on the left would say, "You're Nazis,"
Yeah.
And the neocons would be like, no, we're not Nazis, whatever. But then after a while, it got to the point where it was easier for the people on the right wing to say, oh yeah, no, we are Nazis. That's actually what we are. You know? And likewise, they called all the liberals communists. They were like, you're all communists.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we're not. I'm not a Stalinist. But eventually it just spirals. And now you've got these two ridiculous, like, farcical parodies of
they've kind of flanderized each other with their...
Yes. That is dialectical, surely. But anyway, I regress.
I feel like some kind of physical energy. I digress.
Digress. I regress.
I mentally regress.
Wow.
Yeah. This conversation is far too adult.
Switch. Yeah.
Yeah. That I feel like that is a lot of people's reactions to these kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, to the especially our generation, I feel a lot of people will be like, "Yes, I'm just gonna be a baby."
Yeah, I think really we just need someone who's like a bit optimistic about things. You know, bit of an FDR type character. You know,
I don't think what's his name, the guy from Manchester, is going to be doing that for the British people. Andy Burnham, yeah. This by-election is going to be huge, I think, for the future of this country.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what will it actually decide? Like, whether he can be PM?
Basically, yeah. It's basically if you want to get rid of Keir Starmer, you vote Andy Burnham. But like he's so big in Manchester that you'd think that people in Manchester wouldn't want to get rid of him. You know, his whole thing has been Manchester. I'm the mayor of Manchester. I've done great things for Manchester. So,
but if he's prime minister, he can turn the whole of the UK into Manchester, and then we can have
the Smiths everywhere.
An Oasis.
Everything will be Morrissey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I don't think Morrissey likes Labour. Maybe he does in like a weird kind of...
Morrissey is a weird one. Because everyone...
He likes old-timey Labour when they were racist.
Yeah. Because when I talk to, you know, people into, you know, alternative, without wishing to sound a bit lame, everyone says, I say, I like the Smiths. And they say, oh, but Morrissey's such a... or whatever. And I say, but hang on, but he's super, like, vegan and all this stuff. You know, Morrissey's in a bit of a sort of odd superposition. Yeah. Where he's just not liked by anyone, basically.
He's like, you know the comedian George Carlin? The American comedian? Yeah. I think it's the same thing where it's like, if I only criticize things and I don't really say what I actually do support, then everyone will assume I'm smarter than them. You know? And it doesn't really work, but like I think that's probably what it's just like a contrarian thing.
I'm not giving a concrete position.
Yeah, I'm just going to attack everything, and then I'm apparently above everything, but like no one really knows what because I don't know what Morrissey wants. I feel like he's just sad about how we don't have like a working class communities like we used to, you know, but. But like, I don't think you can attribute that entirely to immigration or whatever. Like, I mean, immigration is probably mass immigration, and the effects of it are more of a symptom of the same cause, probably, rather than being the sole cause. You know, because then you have to explain like, okay, well, why are we doing so much immigration then? And then it's like the only way you can really explain that is through some kind of conspiracy theory about, you know, diluting the native population or whatever, you know.
There's like that aspect, or there's the cheap labour aspect, but that then returns to that everyone.
Yeah, then you're going beyond. Well, yeah, but then you're going beyond just explaining it with immigration, you know. Then you're like saying that immigration is a symptom of something else, you know. Like that's why there's so much migration, and just getting rid of the immigration won't solve the problem. Whereas the people who are more like conspiratorial or whatever, they think like all we have to do is deal with immigration and everything will go back to how it was before. The problem is the immigration. Yeah, like that's all you have to do. And it's like if you do that, like I'm sure wages would go up. Yeah, that's that's fine. But like I'm sure I don't think you would just get back your old communities. You know, like it's done. Like there are no mines to work in. Yeah, you know, like we don't have any industry.
Let's be honest, people aren't going to be kicked out unless they are here illegally. But like the majority of people, I think, immigrants in this country are not here illegally. You know,
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care. Like it's just a bigger thing, I guess, that I'm more interested in. It's like you know, You don't have communities used to congregate around like real things, like, you know, say there was a town with a big factory in, loads of people would move to that town and they'd form a community around the factory where they all worked. Yeah, because you'll work together, you know, and then you're going to go to the same church every Sunday or whatever. That's why you had communities. Yeah, but
their factories have like housing complexes attached to them. Like 40,000 people basically live in the factory.
That is communism, really, when you think about it. I mean, that is actually a commune.
Yeah, basically, you just live where you work, and there's shops in the factory, and you spend, you know, your factory bucks at the factory shop.
That's pretty cool. That I would enjoy that. I think that might be an autistic thing that you were saying that, and I'm getting excited.
I think it is an autistic thing because I also.
Yeah, I don't think anyone actually wants that.
No, I probably hate it if I was there, but the idea of it, of like, you know, because I was raised in a big, you know, the biggest city in the UK.
Yeah,
I am more drawn to a close knit community, a smaller community, you know, where people know each other. And I'm sure people who come from those kind of communities think, my God, there's nothing worse. Everyone knows your business. You know everyone. It's awful. But for me, that's what I romanticize because it's the opposite of what I had. When, you know, you might know a few people on your street, but your street is as big as some of these towns, you know. So
I think I'm drawn to the same thing for like the opposite reason, in that I grew up in the countryside in the middle of nowhere, and there was also no community.
Nowhere,
because the same thing, like there used to be, everyone in the countryside basically worked in agriculture, and you know, so you would wake up and then walk down a footpath and then you'd be at work with all your neighbors, and then but nowadays the countryside is more like, in a lot of it in like the south of England. I'm sure it's completely different in the north where everyone's probably really broke and whatever,
and
but like
still factories,
in the south,
most importantly.
Yeah, but in the south, it's like villages have become like a middle class thing where everyone feels like a little Anglo-Saxon lord who has their own like plot of land. Everyone's very NIMBY, you know, vibe.
Massively,
you know,
so. And because working from home, they basically don't need to leave.
Yeah, and everyone wants to like have big trees around their house so that their neighbors can't see in, but they want to be able to see their neighbor into their neighbors' houses. You know, it's that kind of like, I don't know what it's so English, but it's like the worst side of English culture, aside from Top of the Pops in the 70s.
Yeah, so we're just very catty people, I think.
Yeah, in a really annoying way.
We hate other British people, but we're really nosy.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about all these like right-wing protesters like Tommy Robinson. It's like your fantasy is like just English people, and it's like that would be awful.
Yeah.
No, but it would just like we wouldn't get on. We're very miserable. We're not nice people. We're polite superficially, but we're very judgmental people. The only reason we like being polite is because it allows us to point out that someone else was less polite than us. You know, that's the point of manners in England.
Yeah.
It's all about, and that's because the whole manners thing comes from the 19th century when we had to justify colonizing like most of the world. So we had to be like, well, they're rude, you know. So
we're imposing
that's why
our polite.
We're teaching them manners. Now they know how to drink tea, even though they've been drinking tea for like 10,000 years, and we've been drinking it for like 50 years. But yeah, they need to know the right rituals, you know. Which have nothing to do with gods or anything. They're just rituals that allow you to judge other people. And then they can judge their neighbors, just like we've been judging them, and do the same thing. And eventually we'll all be kind of English. Yeah, and it didn't happen. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That's where we are now. Well, that seems like a good place to end, where we are now.
I would like to finish on one little thing, which is last episode
Please.
we were talking about Richard Dawkins, and I was having a look at Richard Dawkins's Wikipedia page, and he made a documentary in the 80s, and this documentary was called Nice Guys Finish First. And I just wanted to say, I think that says a lot about Richard Dawkins as a person. All this started with the New Atheists. I feel like that's where it all went wrong, you know?
Militant atheism.
Yeah, New Atheism. He calls himself a rationalist, and it's like, that's not what the word means. Rationalism is like a philosophical movement from the 17th century where you try and define God using geometry. You know, that's what rationalism means.
Yeah.
It's not just like, I don't like when people are being irrational. Because then you don't have an idea of what it means to be rational. You're just saying that people you don't like are irrational, you know?
Yeah, it's just leaning on a pejorative, effectively.
Yeah. Maybe I should figure out how to do a Richard Dawkins impression.
I think that would be a positive boon for the show.
He talks like this. I don't quite... That's not it. I can't do it.
That's a mix between Keir Starmer and David Lynch, I think.
Yeah, all of my impressions
distill.
just ultimately... they just go back to David Lynch for some reason. Or Keir Starmer.
Or Keir Starmer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are Gooners, and we are in support of Sir Keir Starmer.
Hell yeah, don't vote that guy out. He's cut immigration down more than like anyone else seems to.
Yeah, you know what? Keir Starmer, he's a gooner. What more can you say?
He's a gooner. He's a man of the people.
For the Gen Z kiddies like us.
Yes.
Keeping it young, keeping it real. So yeah.
All right then, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us for another episode. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think about my aphorisms and our free-spirited conversation. Yeah, give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you don't, then your mother will die in her sleep tonight. So yeah, thank you very much. Amen.
Amen.